Hi everybody, Mr. Simmons coming to you again from the Rebel Base for the second video of our McKinney ISD high school bass audition packet. So we're just going to jump right in because you probably watched the first one. Number 5 is a G major 2-octave scale. Since we've already done the first octave in the last video, I'm just going to concentrate real quick on the second octave, the top octave of this one. So what we do is we start off in first position with an open G. First finger A, fourth finger B. And then we shift to put our first finger on the C, and then we're going to play C, then fourth finger D. The next shift was going for fourth finger D to first finger E. And then I like to use a third finger for the F sharp. However, some people with smaller hands or more comfortable, you can use a fourth finger for the F sharp. Just remember that the E and the F sharp are a lot closer together than they are down here in first position. So you really want to keep that in consideration, which is why I like to use 3. And then we pivot up and go G with the third finger. I would suggest that you start to learn to close that G off rather than play it as a harmonic, closing it off, because you're always going to get a bit more full of a tone with a closed finger. But for now, you can use a harmonic if you like. So it's G, A, B, first finger C, fourth finger D, first finger E, third or fourth finger F sharp, and then G, and then back down. So we want to have nice separated bowings, right? Because it doesn't tell us that it's staccato or legato. So we want every note to have its own value for this one. So I'm going to set my metronome to 80 and go ahead and go. 3, 4. Okay. Now, some people tell me that when they start to move up the bass, their tone starts to suffer a little bit. And almost always, not all the time, but most of the time, what happens is that when they move their hand up the fingerboard, they neglect to move their bow down the string. You always want to use as much of the string as you can. And I'm going to get a lot better sound down here than I am here. So just keep considered, lean into your sound the higher up the neck you go. Okay, so moving right along to number 6, which is a really pretty little ditty here. And we're in the key of C major, which means everything's going to be natural unless otherwise stated, which we do have a couple accidentals in this one. Now this one, there's a couple different ways that you could go about it. I'm going to go about the simplest way here. Which isn't necessary. There's, everybody's hands are different. Everybody wants to do things differently. In here, I'm going to be playing some open Gs. Now, there's ways that you can finger this to where you can close it and get a lot better of a sound. I'm not going to go through that here, but if you'd like to know it, go ahead and comment in the comment section, and I will make another video that does it. So we're going to start off with first finger A, open G, and to get a good open sound, what I like to do is I like to go half hair on the string, right? So if I'm just going, that's just a real kind of harsh sound. But if I go half hair, I can get a lot softer of a sound, which is what we like about fingering notes. So I start off in first position, then fourth finger C, then whittle back to second finger B flat, first finger, and then fourth finger C, and then big shift from fourth finger C to first finger F. So what I would do is I would take some time to practice and go. And when we're doing big shifts like that, it's important to think about where you're going before you go there. A lot of times people gotta think of where they're at as I go there. They lift their finger off the string and then come down here. I keep my finger on the string the entire time and ride it like a monorail, right? I ride it all the way up to that one. So if you have trouble doing the to do that over and over and over again until you just physically know that shift. Now, after we play this G here, I'm going to play that next C with my first finger on the D string. And the harmonic D to go back to this G. So in measure 3, going 1, 4, then 1, 3, and then 1 for this C here, then 2 for C sharp, then 3 for the D, open G. So that way you're giving yourself a little bit of time doing that harmonic D. And then make sure you remember the accidentals throughout all of this. And then at the end of measure 7, we go down. And then we're going to close this G off. 2, 1, 4. Now, make sure that all these notes are nice and broad and connected. A lot of people think we'll look at something and be like, "Oh, that's nothing but half notes and quarter notes. It's really easy." I tend to think that these are some of the more difficult pieces because you've got to be so steady, and each little interval is under a microscope. So don't be afraid to really whittle down your attention and think only about just a little bitty part that you're playing, and do it over and over and over again, because you will get it. Repetition is the name of the game, right? I'll have my students just do measure 3 till they can do it 10 times in a row perfect. A lot of my students don't like that, but it works. It works every time. So no matter if you can get it or not on the first try, just keep trying just that little spot. One of the worst things that we can do when we practice is to just what I call just bushwhack through an entire piece. Just go from the beginning to end every single time. No, it's good to stop. Think about one little shift. I'll just spend time just going like I just over and over again. So this one goes a lot slower, right? It's going to be at 66. I'll play it through you one time. And like I said, if you want those alternate fingerings, just let me know and we'll make it happen. 1, 2, here we go. Okay, so notice through that I wasn't shaking. Right, I'm not vibrato. If you can do it at this point, that's great. However, we don't want it to be a wallpaper that's just all the way behind every single note. So if you got to come into it, see how I come into it? Kind of think opera singer when we do that. Okay, moving right along to number 7. This is some Johann Sebastian Bach, which I love Bach. We're going to use a bit of a different bow stroke on this one, and it's more of a Baroque. Like if you were to draw this bow stroke, it would be a lot more of a U than a broad wave, right? We want every note to be separate and individual, but not staccato. What we want is just each note to have its own little sphere of influence. We don't want to think. Right, nice and just bop, bop, bop. So this one is in B flat or G minor. So this one, when we're talking about the string crossings in measure 3, we want it to be nice and. Notice how everything has its own little spot there. Nice, smooth bow crossing for this. So in measure 4, at the end of it, you go. So we're going. While you're playing that open D is when you should be shifting to get up to this D. If I do it in. See how it's already at that D, the pickup before measure 5, right? You want to use the open strings as an opportunity to shift. And then when I'm in measure 5, 1, 4 for the B flat C, then back. And then when we come up here, we're going to go 1, 4, 1, 4 for the G. Then 1. And then in on a closed D. So I'm going to play it through, and I'll try and play it through twice. But so just really easy fingerings for this one. So here we go. Oh, here. Best with a metronome. 3, 4. sure that in measure 8 that we are not trying to slur that, right? So it's going to be, right? So when we do this, just make sure that our bows, we're not. So we got a string hop here. You can, if you want, for the G and D, go 1/4. Right? So that's what I would do if I was doing this piece. I would go 1 4 1. Because what that does, you don't have this big string skip here, right? It's a little bit harder because you're not playing an open string, but so we'll go 1 4, then shift back 1 for the B flat. Right? And so that's a good way to try it. So making sure that those shifts are all right, we're going to try it one more time for you guys. 2, here we go, and okay. Alrighty, so that concludes number 2. Like I said, I'm totally open for you guys. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments, and I will get back to them as soon as I can. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck with your audition, and I'll see you for number 3.